Oh, Hi everyone, and welcome here. So this meeting will have two parts. The first part is activation, enlightenment and activation, that we call it, as you know, together with non-doing meditation guided. And the second part is some kind of workshop, you could call it. It means that we will use a tool to take away the power, the charge of this separate me, which is only a belief. Separate person. Of course we exist, but not as a doer, thinker, decider, controller, and so on. We have been looking at that before. And we will use a tool for this. And by using it intensively, it will be a big chance that it will be a shift, and you will see that you're already living in oneness. So, is this a good day for getting enlightened, or? Yeah, I hope so. Let's do it then. Why should we wait more? If you're already enlightened, it has to come in a certain now. Huh? Why not it now? Why is not this now then? So this is the intention and goal of this meeting. So we start by having the enlightenment in activation. So we close our eyes and just sit here, so to speak, landing on this spot. Noticing how things are just arising and falling. We just leave it alone. Every moment something new is happening, replacing what was there before. We call it experiences, feelings, body sensations, sounds, thoughts, of course. We just leave it alone. We just allow this to come and go as it is already doing. We just leave the moment as it is. Everything's allowed to come and go as it is doing by itself. Even thoughts are allowed to come and go. We don't push away any thoughts. Thoughts are part of this meditation. We don't try anything. We don't push any thoughts away. But we are not interested in them. We're not interested in anything which is coming here. We are sitting here, allowing the moment to be as it is. Not interested in anything at all, and doing absolutely nothing. And then the activation will soon start on the individual level.
Jeigu norit aktyvacijos, atidarykit savo veidus.
What did you say?
Kameras įjunkit. I just see few people didn't open because probably don't
okay,
understand.
okay, yeah, okay. Good. So those of you who wants to have enlightenment activation, you need to have the video on. For those of you who just don't want to have enlightenment activation, you should take away your video. I hope that is clear now. Thank you, Nata.
Those are already enlightened.
Yeah, they are probably already enlightened. It can be a nice experience, though. So, okay. Let's sit here now. Allowing the moment to be as it is. Not interested in anything specific. Doing absolutely nothing. We can take 1 or 2 minutes to come out of meditation. So, time for the next part then. The final part, right? To see what is hindering you from seeing that you're already living in the enlightened state. And it's one good news and one not so good news. The good news is that there's only one problem. That is the belief in a separate me as a doer, thinker, decider, controller, receiver, experiencer. The responsible me, which has to do the right things, or needs to fix life. Very big burden. And we have gone through this in all these sessions. We don't have to repeat it here. We have seen that we could find this separate person, this me, this I, doing things, has to do things. The burden of this doing. And by the way, maybe it's ideas that is not good enough also. Whatever it looks like in your special case, it is still a belief in a separate me. And this separation, this idea of me and the world, me and the rest, this separation is make you not see that you are already living in oneness, in total liberation. So what we did yesterday is to give out a small tool to become aware of how this separate me is not only some kind of idea that we can talk about. Okay, I see now that I'm not making any decisions. Actually, they're just arising by themselves. But that is separate me, the I, is a center around which everything is circulating. I don't know how many of you have opportunity to use this little tool to just sit down 5 minutes and just look and see after everything which is arising from morning to evening is related to the idea of a person, a personal me. We don't even see it. It's just part of the package, part of our system. This belief is there. Everything which is coming up is related immediately to a center of a person. This is done by the thinking mind. It's not any me doing it, of course. This is just we have been trained since childhood that there is a center called me, and that everything which is coming, feelings, sensations, perceptions, ideas, events, is me, is my experiences, my body, my feelings, my thoughts. It is so integrated in us. So it's not so easy to see it. It is actually not existing. Because it's not existing. And it doesn't make it easier because we also have some kind of advantages by having this belief in a person. Because people like me. I'm appreciated. They give me attention. I feel good. There's also some positive sides with having this person me, even if it doesn't exist, it's just a thought. So we were using this tool yesterday, giving out. We could become more aware that the question of person me is quite tricky one, because most of it is happening unconsciously, you could say, at least not clearly seen. When we have some kind of hunger experience in the body, we don't think that, oh, it is me which is having this idea, this feeling of hunger in the body. But it is there. It's automatically related to that center of me. I am hungry. We express it in the statement, oh, I'm hungry, I need to eat. So first step was to become aware that the center of this me is here all the time. All the time. Except maybe for non-doing meditation, because then it is not active. So what happens then when the idea of a person me is not active during meditation? We see how it is. We see how it is, that it's just a harmonious, beautiful state here with no problems. Totally safe place. Doesn't matter what happens in the story. Untouched by the story, totally free. And one of the main reasons is that the separate me is not active. That's why we see the truth. Or glimpses of it at least, and more is seen for every meditation. So what should we do then? If this separate me is so strongly, habitually connected here to the system, that everything which is arising is automatically, we're not doing it, automatically related to the center which we have been trained to believe since we're children. What should we do then? Well, one thing was to become aware, as we talked about yesterday, now here also. And now it is time to attack that separate me belief more intensively. It's not enough that we have some kind of idea once a day or once a week. So how would this moment be felt then if there is no person me? Okay, it can be some kind of seeing, maybe some kind of experience, but it's not enough. The separate me belief has an extraordinary power over us because it's not even seen. It's like talking to a fish about water. Huh? What are you talking about? It's automatically. So we need to break that circle of automatic interpretation in terms of everything related to a personal me. We have to break that circle. It's automatic happening. And this is what we're going to do now. I hope you are not too much in samadhi. That you have some strength left. And for you who has some strength less and wants to come to the final truth, not only having a nice experience during meditation, because that doesn't help. It has to be a seeing. We're not after meditating. We are not after experiences here. Floyd says this, your here is totally dissolved. Well, who is totally dissolved? The me is coming into everything. I will tell you a personal story. When I was awakened, when the awakening came, I was totally convinced that I did it. It's finished. Huh? And then I met an enlightened teacher. I was awakened, but not in oneness. Hmm? And I said that there is no me here. And she looked at me and said, well, I see someone there. I was total disaster for me, of course. I thought I got it. So even if we think that we have got it, oh, there's no me here now, it can be there still. So that is why it is important to look at this separation, to not fool ourselves. So what we do now is that you just sit with open eyes, and then you say to yourself, and translate it to your own language. We're doing it together. And you say to yourself, how is this moment felt, experienced, if there is no personal me? I'll repeat it. You say to yourself in your own language, how is this moment felt if there is no personal me? Let it sink in and just wait and do it now. It doesn't matter what happens. We're not expecting any fireworks or any specific experience or insights. We just did it. And now you do it again. In this moment, how is this moment felt if there is no personal me? Translate it to your own language, let it sink in and just wait and do it with open eyes. We don't look for anything specific. We're just doing, you making the tool, doesn't matter what happens. Now we do it again. How is this moment felt, experienced, if there is no personal me? And now we do it again. How is this moment felt, experienced, if there is no personal me? And now we do it again. How is this moment felt, experienced, if there is no personal me? Now we are going to do it in another way. You're going to say it to yourself, and then you go up and go around in your own apartment. Then you will do it 5 times by yourself. You're going around and then you stop after some time and you say it to yourself, standing or sitting down, doesn't matter. You say to yourself, how is this moment felt if there is no personal me? So I will wait here for you, and you all start to go around in your own apartment. Okay? See you soon. So, the reason that we're using this tool is to take away the power of this separate me belief, which is there all the time, even if we don't see it. And by using it in this way, intensively, we will break the circle of this automatic interpretation by the thinking. And as you noticed, we left the thinking mind. We can never debate or discuss with the thinking mind, but you have this wrong. There is no separate me. There is no me here. There's no person responsible me here. We can say that, we can talk about it, and then the other one says, oh yes, it is. No, we have evidence here that shows that we haven't found any separate me when we're looking for it. Who is creating the thoughts and so on. You have to look deeper. It is there. So we can't debate with it really. We will never win it. So what we did and do is to go away from the thinking. We're going away from the intellect. And instead see how would it be felt if I don't believe that thought. Or if that thought is not believed. This is what we did here. And the suggestion is, before we are open for questions here and comments and sharing, the suggestion is that you take 1 hour. If you really, really want to be free, you can take 1 hour of your time when you're alone and do this on your own. So the first half an hour, you're doing it sitting down in the way we did now, just constantly doing it without having any expectation that there should be a certain result. And then after half an hour, you go up and you do it in the way we did now, but you do it for half an hour. You're walking around. This is, of course, to integrate our new findings, how it would be felt if there is no separate me, to integrate it with daily lives, so it doesn't become only some kind of meditative state. And this way, we can break this power of this thought, and the shift will come, the shift to oneness. Usually, totally surprisingly, out of the blue, because the power of this thought is getting less. We don't have to take away all the power of this thought of separate me as a doer. We just have to go down a little bit to some kind of border, then the shift will come by itself. This is a suggestion that you can do by your own 1 hour. Intensively attacking the idea and breaking the circle. Okay, so now we open for questions, and we have a question from Megle. If we can do it outside, or it's better to do it inside. Of course, the first part doesn't matter actually. You can do it outside also, as long as you don't communicate with other people. You can sit on a bench somewhere or in the garden or something to do the first half an hour, and then you can go around the other half of the hour and do it. It's extremely effective. Doesn't seem to be much, but we are actually using the basic understanding that the mind will never ever give up this idea. We can't wait for the thinking mind to give it up. Oh, I was wrong all the time. Sorry. Can you forgive me? That will never happen. That's why we go away from the thinking mind and go. So yes, Egli, and to everyone, you can do it wherever you are actually. One thing which was a little bit commented when we did it was how to do it when we do it ourselves then. And what we need to add as an instruction is that when you first sit down, or when you first sit down, you take one deep breath. You take one deep breath when you first sit down. It's only once. And that is to avoid that this becomes some kind of mind game, to avoid that it becomes mechanical, and to avoid that it becomes affirmation. So we take one deep breath before we start the whole process of 1 hour. And that will be very interesting to hear what you have found. You can put some reports on the WhatsApp if you want to. So I open for questions and comments and maybe sharing something if somebody wants to say something. So why we are doing this? Yeah, Floyd is giving us a link to the WhatsApp group. And why we are doing is because meditation is a beautiful tool to discover this reality that we are inside us. So to speak, we are discovering nirvana inside. But it's not enough. Because when we come out, the whole mess starts again. And the mess is believing this person, me, who has to fix life, who has to do this and that, and it's not good enough, and so on. Never satisfied with the present moment and the Future doesn't look good for me. So it doesn't matter how many decades you are sitting in the cave meditating. You have to come out sooner or later if you don't want to be in the cage, in the cave rest of your life. But it's just half of life. Just half of life. Life is here. The daily activity is a part of it. That's why we need to complement this with also looking at that part and see why it is. This nirvana is not seen. It is here. So to speak, using Indian terms again, samsara is nirvana. That is a big surprise. Samsara is actually nirvana. It's only nirvana. It's only pure being. Only presence is. Only one reality. Reality is one. Showing itself as is deep silence inside and as a dynamic activity. What we call our personal story. So we need to look at both. To question the belief only will make us maybe feel better, but we don't know anything. We don't have any wisdom. We don't have access to that beautiful place of reality. And by only meditating, we only see it inside. The same mess is on the outside still, as long as we don't question why it is there. And that is why we have to question the separate me belief also. So here we do both. And that makes the map complete. That makes the one state permanent, not only as a glimpse. Is there anybody who wants to make a comment or questions about anything else also?
Krista, hello.
Yeah. Yes, hello.
Yes, the personal me, it keeps coming in between, to analyze some of the process that we are doing. Because when I thought, maybe I should go back to my room, and then I thought uh, maybe if we don't have the personal way, maybe we'll never come back to the room and disturb. So there is still something, which comes in, even though there is a space when we first ask that there is a sort of space or sort of opening, and then still something does come after some time or something like that. So, how do we, like, I don't know, if there's no personal me, there's no sense of asking how do we deal with it, but still it comes. So, how do we work with it?
Yeah, it's still coming because we have this been trained belief that there is someone here who has to go back to the room. So the idea which is coming, maybe I should go back to my room, that idea in itself is pointing to the other idea of a separate me. That tells the body, it's a third thing, telling the body to go back to the room. So first we have the idea of a me was created as a child. That was actually harmless. The idea of a person, it was just there. No problem, actually. But then there's a whole construction above this person, me. Then this becomes a problem because everything then related to that person, whatever comes, maybe I should go back to my room, that idea is related already to a person. But it's only a thought. Going back to the room happens or not. And the thought which is coming is deeper, because the thought which is coming is not created by a person. So even if the I is there in the statement, maybe I should go back to my room. It's to me, or my I and me, my room. That thought in itself is also created by itself. That's what we have been seeing when we look. There is no me. We don't find any me creating the thoughts. It's totally automatic here. It's related to the separate me all the time. Maybe I should go back to my room. And the body maybe is obeying that thought, because the body and the mind is cooperating here. They are always cooperating. The mind has been trained to cooperate with the body, mind-body system, since we were children, more and more complex. And then adulthood is totally automatic. We don't even look at it. We don't even see it. We don't see how the thinking mind is solving problems all the time, from morning to evening. But the idea that we are creating these thoughts, that we are solving the problem, that is just illusion. So we're not changing the story. It's very important to understand this. A good point here. We're not changing the story at all. We're just discovering how it really is. That there is no separate doer, thinker, decider, controller, experiencer. Everything is just happening by itself. It's just a dance here. We are just looking at a movie from the cinema sofa place, eating popcorn and freedom, untouched by the story. And then it's not so serious anymore if it's over there. The problem is that we think that we are a person in the story. But we're not a person in the story. We exist, yes, we exist. But they exist as this presence of just being here, the sense of being here, sense of living, sense of existing. It's a beautiful thing. Quite mysterious, actually, when we look at it in this way. But just living, existing. But we don't do anything. We're just enjoying the show. And it can be quite dramatic. But we are not a person in the story. And this is what we are looking at by using this tool. Thank you for this question, Floyd. Very good.
Christa, I just wanted to ask,
Mm-hmm.
we relate to our spouse, our father, mother, friend, uh, every minute during our day, at work, with our colleagues. So this relationship is happening all the time. And how do we integrate this understanding that there is just a belief that there is me in these all transactions that are happening? How do we separate? I mean, I just find that it's very challenging.
Yeah.
So, how do we deal with relationships?
So who's going to deal with it? There's no one here doing anything. There's no one who has to deal with anything. What we are doing here, Vasant, what we're doing here is to discover how it really is. That's a personal relationship, as we call it, within two people. It's just happening by itself. Everyone here is playing a role, but it's not anyone behind the role. It's like looking at a movie. It's like looking at a theater play. We're not changing the theater play by discovering, oh, it's a theater play here. We just see that I am free from it. I'm not in the theater play. I'm not in the movie. I don't need to solve anything because I don't have any power, because there is no personal power. So the relationship between two people have always been two roles playing by seemingly two persons. That will not change. It's just discover how it really is. You don't have to deal with anything. Just discover how it is, has been all the time. When two people meet and they fall in love with each other, okay, then that is happening. But there are no persons behind this seemingly two people falling in love. This is just what happens in the movie. The movie is quite a good metaphor, because when we look at the movie from the cinema sofa, we don't think that Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, I know it's old movies, but we don't think that they are there. Huh? We know that they are not there. They're just playing out the role automatically. Life is just a big happening. Nothing needs to be done, because there is no one who can do anything. We're just watching the show, eating popcorn or whatever. Enjoying the life. Enjoying. It's not so serious anymore, because there's no danger. It's a totally safe place. We are sitting there observing, so to speak. Not really true, but we can say it in this context. So to speak, observing or watching the movie. So the movie goes on and has always been going on. It's just that we are discovering what is really taking place. But what I call me is not a person who is responsible for anything. It's not any power in that, it's just a thought. The real me is a so-called witness of what is going on in the story. I don't know if that is a enough question for you, Vasant.
Thanks, Chris. I mean, I will soak that in. You know, I will have to experiment and see it more. But I think I'm still struggling with the thought when I look at my wife in her eyes. Uh, there is definitely a me and a her, and here I'm not looking at both of us as a story. So because I'm so involved in that moment. Um, so I don't know. It's still difficult for me to understand how to see that, because that's happening spontaneously. I know that, but
Yeah.
then observe it again and say that there was not actually a real me there. Um, yeah, it's challenging. I mean, it's still very challenging for me.
Mm. If we take the example of your wife, then, Krishna, if I may do that, Krishna. Well, Vasant, when you're looking into her eyes, the relationship we call it, we take the subject of relationship here only. Relationship, is it really a connection, so to speak, connection? There is no relationship. We see that we are one. That is love. Because love is oneness. We are already living in the total oneness. And one is to see that everything is love. So when you look into her eyes, you can see oneness in her eyes, and oneness is love. So then the relationship collapses, actually. It's not two anymore. It's just one more aspect I'm giving here. One more aspect to see how the relationship is also actually an opportunity to discover your enlightenment. To see that I thought we were two here, but now when I look into your eyes, I see that we are one. That is love relationship. And in the state of oneness, everything that is looked at has that oneness feeling and love. I don't know if that makes me even more confusing, Vasant. Maybe you should sit up there.
No, it's yeah. I mean, no, I'm with you, Chris. I'm with you, absolutely with you. But I'm talking about other times when we are not really looking at each other in their eyes, in each other's eyes, but we are dealing with things when I'm upset and she's upset, or trying to be with each other, kind
But
of trying to understand and support. When all that is happening, for me at least, uh, there is a constant, how would I say, understanding that there is this Vasant who needs to listen to Krishna. You know what I mean?
yeah, I know it's not so easy to see this. The problem is that if we want to see the truth, if we want to see how it really is, we just have to admit that some things which I don't want to admit it. I don't want to see it really. That my wife is just some kind of what, and to see that I am also something what, that there's no basis here. But we are looking from another perspective. When we are talking now, we are talking within the story. And when we are talking within the story, it seems to be very strange and weird. Not even want to listen to it. But if we are looking from the truth level, but that's why it's important to meditate. Because we find a place inside us which is totally free. And that is very important. Otherwise you can get crazy here. But to find what I really am, and what she is also really am, in your case. To find out that, oh, I am pure freedom. I am this sense of being here, sense of living, sense of existing, being aware of this beautiful story with ups and downs. We continue to go ups and downs, by the way. But here I am free. Doesn't matter what happens in the story. And now we can be enjoyed for what it is. Without that part, there will be, I don't know, madness, mental diseases. That's why we have to have both. We have to discover the truth about ourselves. And then when we see the truth about ourselves, then it's much easier to see that, oh, but this is a beautiful story here. And now it can be enjoyed. And we are getting curious, oh, what's going to happen next? Because every morning is a new episode in this soap opera. And I wonder what they will do today. It's about relaxing. We come into a relaxed place of just enjoying, existing, and loving, which is the most important part. Because you are love itself, Vasant. That's what you are. You're pure love. The real you is pure love. And the real you in Krishna is also pure love. You are one on that level. I think it was Jalaluddin Rumi, the Sufi mystic, who says once that when people fall in love in the story, they don't meet in the story for the first time. They have already met. They were already one before the story began. It's a little bit mysterious, maybe. But it's true. I know this by my own experience. That is true.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful, really. And in that way, being in a relationship and seeing that when I say I love you, because we can still say that, of course, knowing that the words may be much more deeper than a person loving a person. And to see that we are actually in reality, essentially we are one. And we were one before the story began. And now we find each other also in the story. It's beautiful. Maybe it's not happening for everybody, but when it has happened, it's a real gift. And can now be appreciated for what it is. The truth. It is as if you have been sitting in the cinema sofa before the story began. Oh, Basant, should we do something fun? Hmm? Let's go into some kind of creative, some kind of story from the thinking level here, because it's only the thinking, huh? Let's do something here. Let's see what happens. See if we can find each other. It's like a little bit hide and seek, huh? Little bit metaphorical, of course. Is that satisfying you a little bit more, Basant, or do you want to yeah?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
There is an intuition that the meditation and the process where we try to find our true self will take care of everything. There is an intuition. So yeah.
Everything is happening by itself in the story. And the other, to find our true self, as you say, is to find out that we are just here loving, enjoying, living. And there is no time there, if you notice. In that place of just existing, just being here, that there is no time, which means that you are not dying. You are always here. Even if the so-called personal story ends as it does, you will still be here. And Krishna too. So you will find that, oh, darling, here we are again, sitting in the cinema sofa, holding hands. And what should we do then? Should we have a new story? Should we go to another galaxy or something? Or I know it can be sound very weird, but just to see what is really true here, that we are not a person in the story, but we are much more than that. And to complete the map, this reality that we call our being, existing eternally here, is the same as the story. So now we're coming back to the story. It's not two here. It's not me sitting here aware of, so to speak, of what is going on out there in the so-called story, and I'm totally cut from it. In one way you are, but in one way you are not, because you are the ocean. So the ocean is showing itself as this deep silent place which is untouched by what happens, and you are the waves as well. So you are also the story. In this way, everything becomes complete. Reality is one. So the story is also you. But of course it has to be not be a theory only. It has to be seen. That is what we call oneness. And maybe this tool that we use today can help to make the shift to see this. And then the questions finished. But until then, it's very good to have questions and have them answered, of course. Anyone else who wants to comment or say something? Yes, Krishna.
I just want to say thank you, Chris, for just putting light on the space, And I had a, like when we were doing the self-inquiry, when you were guiding us, I could feel some emotion coming up for me, where I was feeling little emotional every time when you guided, like now how you feel if the personal I is not there. So every time you were guiding, there was a time in between where I felt like that something was scared within.
Yeah, this is a very good point. What kind of emotion? Was it mostly fear that came, or was it something else also?
It was more like some attachment which was there, and now I have to let it go. So the letting go was very difficult. Like it wasn't difficult, but it was like this. Now I have to leave. That I need to go somewhere like that.
Who is going to let go if there is no one? You see, this is also some kind of idea that is good to clarify here. That we have the idea that, oh, I can't surrender, some people come and say, but there is no one here to surrender. It's just one more burden on our shoulders. It's just one more form of this separate me that now needs to surrender, now needs to let go, kill herself, so to speak. But that is, of course, not possible because there's never been any separate me. So this idea, which is you can see in many spiritual books and in teachings also as well, actually, is based on the misunderstanding. This is what Ramana Maharshi in Tirumalai was very focused on, to discover that this me who is going to surrender and let go doesn't exist in the first place. So we don't have to think about this at all. We don't try, so to speak, we try anything at all. The letting go is happening by itself. The surrendering, we call it, is happening by itself. It's a happening. There's no one surrendering. There's no one let go. That is the one part. The other part is the fear you talked about, which is very important. Because it can be that when we're using this tool, we come to a place or some kind of space inside which is filled with fear. Because we have been brought up with the idea that I have to defend. I have to create some kind of shield around me to be able to defend against other people. Otherwise, I will be used and I will not get what I want. So I have to defend. And what we are doing here, of course, is to, indirectly, you could say, we're attacking that idea of a defender. Because one of the forms of a person in me is a defender, of course. And as a child, it maybe has some function to have that kind of defense around. Otherwise, it will not be so easy to be with other children and so on. But when we grow up, we have to just see that this is just a thought. It's just a function. It's a function within the child. But it's not really true. It's only function temporarily. So when the defense is attacked, the defender is attacked, we don't have any protection anymore. That can be felt as fear. So if this, very good point, very thank you that you brought it up, because if that fear is coming, what should I do with it then? Well, the instruction is very simple, but very effective and important. Feel the fear. And if you want to come to individual session to cope with it, of course, come. But if you can't, feel the fear in the moment and feel it completely. When I say feel, I don't mean allow. To allow the fear to be there is not enough. Nothing will happen really. It will come back and come back. But by feeling it, it loses its power. It's a fear of vanishing. It's a fear of not being here. But we know that we are not that person in the story. But still there is this fear. Because we have been, it has been created a protector, defender around us, what we call me. It's a very good point. So feel the fear totally. It can be quite painful, but it's usually just a couple of minutes, and then you're free. Because you're standing in front of the gate when this fear is coming. We don't have to have the fear. We don't think about that. Oh, I don't have the fear. I'm not coming so far in my journey. No. Don't listen to that rubbish from the thinking mind. Doesn't know anything about freedom. If it's coming, feel the fear totally. And you will see, usually it is the end of the discoveries and you are free. Without any me. Freedom shows itself. This expansion of isness. being. Is there anything you want to comment on this, Krishna?
Thank you, Chris. I will observe it next time and feel it fully and just.
Yeah, and if it's emergency, you can always try to come here in individual session, of course. It's very important place we come to when we come to this sphere, because we are, as I said, standing in front of the gate. There is no gate, of course. It's just a way of talking about it. It's never been in the gate. Yeah, very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. We covered a lot of topics today. It's beautiful. But you are so devoted to this freedom. Anything else?
Hi, Chris. This is Rohan here.
Yeah, hi, Ron. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I've heard a lot about you from Vasant and Krishna.
Yeah.
Nice to finally attend a session with
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
So actually, it's interesting. I had a question, but my question is actually quite similar to. I mean, Krishna just ended up asking the same question. That actually, what happens for me many times is that perception does shift into the oneness, but what brings it out of that is mostly is the sense of fear. And this fear, when it comes, it's what creates a little bit of this feeling of separation. And I think it comes some, if I have to put, I don't know exactly where it comes from, but I think it comes a lot from having had trauma in the past, but it comes in the present moment. And you very clearly shared with her this thing that it probably served some function in childhood to be there as a defense. But the question which I had right now at this moment is actually that fear, when it's actually at a mental level, it's easier to work with. When it becomes visceral, like when it becomes felt in sense in the body, that time it's a little hard uh, to not get uh, as I was saying, that the fear creates a sense of separation. When this fear is not active in the body, then it's okay to, then it feels like oneness. And when this fear is there in the body, very strong, at that moment, it does feel very strongly like there is a separate self, there is a separate me, and which needs to be defended and needs to be protected. And so the question would be like how would one work with that? And actually, it's similar to what you said to her. And you said something which is interesting. You said don't allow the fear, but then it'll just keep coming. But actually feel the fear. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? Because that's what I do. I allow the fear, but I don't know if I necessarily feel the fear. Some part of me feels a little afraid to feel the fear.
Yeah, the fear can be expressed itself in many ways. It can be expressed in big emotion, which is just, so to speak, an emotion, but not connected so much into the body. It can be expressed itself as very, very bodily feeling. It's an existential fear. It's not has nothing to do with what has happened in the childhood and so on. It's existential. This is what this kind of fear, because fear can be so many things. Here we are only focusing on this kind of strong fear, which is coming in these situations when we are meditating or doing this tool. So then it is existential, and it is here independently of what has happened before in history. And to allow it, it just means that we have some kind of distance to it. No? Okay, I allow this fear to be over there. That doesn't help, because all it wants, so to speak, metaphorically a little bit here, it wants to express itself. It just wants to express itself. And when we feel it, not only allowing it, feeling it totally, becoming one with it, identical with it, then it goes out. And then when it goes out, then it is seen what is on the other side. Freedom, which is, of course, always there. But now it has this fear of me, or first separate me, and then the fear of this separate me go away. There are two samurais, so to speak, standing in front of the gate. We have to deal with both of them. And if the message is the same. We just feel it totally. And usually it is only once. Because when it has freedom to be felt totally, it is free, so to speak. We give the fear freedom. We give it space. We give it room. Okay, the fear is here. You're now totally free to express itself as you want, and for as long as you want, and in any way that you want. You just hear, I feel you, but not as a distant, because the fear is actually you. The fear is actually the separate me, afraid of vanishing. A little bit also metaphorically, of course, because there is no separate me. But you know, I think you understand what I mean.
Thank you.
Is that okay? Yeah. Thank you.
We'll experiment with that.
Yeah. Just feel it. It's very simple. We don't have to make a big project about it. And in the way you have described it, you are so close to this. And we can have glimpses of oneness, but then we're coming, so to speak, back to duality again. That is because the separate me is still there grabbing attention. And that's why this tool we advocating today can be a very good help then to take the last step. Because if you already have glimpses of his oneness, it means you are very close to permanently be there. But the only thing which is hindering is this separate me. So feel the fear, and it will be okay. You come to a permanent state of freedom, of oneness. It will be very interesting to hear. You can tell me when, if you want to. Anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have been covering very much now today. So what will happen tomorrow and on Friday is that will not be any talking. There will not be any workshop. There will not be anything, any questions and answers. We will only focus on the guided meditation and the enlightenment activation. And why we call it enlightenment activation is because you are enlightened. So it's not a path to enlightenment. It's just to activate what is already inside you. And this is done in a beautiful way. I hear so much report from you. It's very inspiring. So tomorrow and Friday, you have I think you have the times on the schedule on the WhatsApp group. You are welcome to come. So thank you very much for today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.